Do the Rams really need a third receiver? This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the September 24th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at Temple City Auto Repair.com. All right, so we're waiting for injury news. We're talking about needing a third receiver. Everyone wants to know what's up with Terrence Ferguson. Should we be worried about the Colts? And what's going to be left of the NFC West by the end of the month? So real curious things happening there. And, of course, we'll take a brief look at Week 4. And we'll make a pick for Thursday's game, but we'll make our regular picks on Friday. Okay, right off the top, Wednesday. It's 72 hours post-Eagle loss. Still no news of any major injuries, which I think we would be aware of from Sunday's game. Nothing, not anything, not even the standard panic of, oh my gosh, 10 players didn't suit up for a practice or something, right? Nothing. So this is all good news. You got out of the Philly game, right? We talked about this. Well, it would have been nice to win. You only lose against Philly if you leave there with major injuries. What you needed to do is find out what Philly had and what you need to deal with, right? Obviously, special teams. Obviously, Coleman Shelton's not enough. And obviously, while you've got a nice cornerback room, you don't have anybody that can match up with A.J. Brown. So Rams left there somewhat healthy as of right now. Rams left there knowing what they need to do. And again, I'll say it, if they see this team in January, they will beat the Eagles. They will beat the Eagles. Let's see if anyone's clicked on, a few of you guys there. Steve Ramirez. Daniel Jones was on the Manning cast. So is he jinxed? That show used to jinx active players. You know, I've never sat through an entire Manning cast. I guess I got to do that at some point. Tim Burns. So if Adams is limited, who gets targets? Whittington or Atwell? Will tell us if Tutu is the short for the team. I think we already know, right? We already know that Tutu's short for the team. And in regards to Adams, did anyone get news on Adams? Something I didn't know. Just curious. USA, expat, Colts and Niners are all that I'm thinking of now. And again, I think the way that Philly game ended prevents this Colt game from being a trap game, right? Heads on a cloud. Let's say the Rams beat Philly 40-14, which that was the trajectory there. And then they're thinking about 49ers next Thursday. I was afraid that the Colt game could get lost in transition in the middle of it there. But the way it ended, I'm sure this team's going to be very focused Sunday afternoon. Also, I need your help, guys. Just give me some warm thoughts. My wife scheduled a lunch that afternoon after church with some family friends, and I'm not really happy about it. Maybe they'll see it. Yeah, I know. It's like, are you crazy? What are you going to do? Well, what are we doing this for? She says, Joe wants to watch the game. And it's like, how do you watch the game with a bunch of riffraff? And that's who everybody is if they're not focused on football. All right. Everyone's all worked up on Terrence Ferguson, and I've drawn the link before, but the first draft pick in the McSnead era was Gerald Everett. Second round, 44th overall out of South Alabama, 6'3", 250. Now, he got off to a bit of a faster start than Ferguson. He had 17 catches and 2 touchdowns in his first season. That was his entire season. 17 catches, 2 touchdowns, all right? 32 targets. First 3 games, he had 4 catches, and in 4 seasons, he was never an accomplished blocker, and the Rams did not re-sign him. Also, something to think about there is the Rams extended Higbee, who was drafted under the, I know I shouldn't say everyone's going to get mad at me, under the Jeff Fisher era, the Rams extended Higbee in the September of his fourth season. So right off the top, the Rams extended him, and not their first pick in the McVay era, which was Gerald Everett. And after the 2020 season, he was allowed to walk, and he's been a pretty fair tight end, although he's not playing right now this season. He had a few snaps with Chicago last year, had 8 catches, I think. But think about this now. The Rams drafted Terrence Ferguson, second round, 46th overall out of Oregon. He's listed 6'5", 255. He's played 4 snaps. My thing here is don't panic. Don't panic. Just give it time for Terrence Ferguson. The truth is Gerald Everett never became an accomplished blocker, and that's why he left L.A. And the same thing for Ferguson. When McVay feels like he can be trusted out there, I'm sure he trusts his hands, his route running, but being in the right place where he's supposed to be to throw a block, that's something else. And I see a lot of Gerald Everett here, right? I see it. I hope he goes to the next level. I liked Gerald Everett, but I want to see him go to the next level. Also, before I take a look down at something else, Alaric Jackson, right? I feel like Alaric Jackson is getting shortchanged this year because everyone was worked up about Alaric Jackson from June to September, right? But so far in 3 games, he's dropped back in deep pass defense, right? Pass blocking, 105 pass snaps. He's allowed 4 hurries, 1 hit, and 0 sacks. So I would make a motion that every year from now on, Alaric Jackson do nothing from the end of minicamp till the end of August every year. If this guy stays healthy, I'm so happy about his contract. We should all be happy about his contract. Undrafted free agent, right? Undrafted free agent. They develop, and then they're paying him, and he is our starting left tackle. Man, that's good news. It's been a fantastic start for Alaric Jackson when you think of what he was dealing with. All right, let's see. Steve Ramirez, I only saw Avila is limited. Yeah, and I've taken my swings at Steve Avila. Is anybody else concerned out there? No one else seems to be commenting on that. Tim Burns, you said its name. Oh, okay. Okay, I repent. I'm sorry, Mr. Burns. I said the name, right? Tim Burns, Yahoo had Adams questionable with a bad hamstring. Okay. I didn't see anything on the sites I was looking at, but I think we're okay. But we'll keep an eye on that. Usually a couple of those Ram sites go full hair hysterical, right? I mean, you remember after, was it going into week 1 or going into week 2, 3 starters on the offensive line didn't dress, and it was supposed to be the end of the world. So we'll see how that plays out. USA Expat, the Rams using more 12 personnel. It's time to get those tight ends going in the passing game. There is nothing on tape yet. Yeah, they haven't used them. They just haven't used them. And Ferguson was a healthy scratch. So I guess I can jump my next point here and go to my 5th point. The whole push now, as I'm hearing, is the Rams media is whining over they need a 3rd receiver. I heard one podcast first described Atwell as Jan Jefferson 2.0, which sounded really familiar when I heard that podcaster use Jefferson 2.0. I don't know where they got it from, but they're talking about the Rams need a 3rd receiver. The Rams have Nakua, Adams, and then you've got, of course, Atwell and Whittington. Do the Rams really need to make a move? I mean, think about this. Nakua was targeted 15 times. Stafford dropped back and threw 33 passes, okay? Nakua was targeted 15 times. Why was Nakua targeted 15 times? Because he was open. And those weren't all hitch routes, inside bubble screens, easy tosses for Stafford. 15 times he went to Nakua, completed 11 of them. Adams was targeted 8 times. That's 23 of 33 attempts by Stafford were to his top receivers. And I would say for the most part, not all, I think Adams and I think they're both guys that you could send jump balls to and they'll get it. But right now they haven't needed that 3rd receiver, right? If Atwell's open or Nakua's open, I think I'm going to Nakua, right? If Whittington's open or Adams is open, I'm going to Adams. And when they're not there, can we just trust that Stafford will get them the ball? My complaints about Tutu is they're not necessarily running something specific for him, something definitely like a jet sweep, something specifically for him, the deep out route. Those are my complaints. But when they're dropping back and they're seeing their top receivers open, Pro Bowl caliber receivers, one a Hall of Famer, one on a Hall of Fame track. Don't want to jump the gun too much for Nakua. I'm not worried about them getting a third receiver. I'm just not. As USA Expat said there, I am concerned about them getting their tight ends involved. They really do need to get their tight ends involved. Higbee's the darling, and I don't even know if did Higbee even get targeted the other day. Colby Parkinson was in and out, and Davis Allen broke his touchdown streak, and Ferguson didn't even what would you say, dress. And here, with all of that said, oh my gosh, we need a third receiver. If Stafford had just been on target to Adams and Nakua, why would we be talking about a third receiver? The Rams would have won the game 40-14 probably, right? I mean, if Stafford had been on target, we wouldn't be talking about the need for a third receiver. Again, I think it's just Harry hysterical time for the Rams media. And then finally, I saw it was at PFF, The Athletic, Rams. Well, I don't know where I saw it. They bring it up the question of extending Quentin Lake. Finally, they joined our conversation. I think Quentin Lake is forcing the issue here. I really do. Don't you? I really think Quentin Lake, if there's anyone going to challenge second contract, it's going to be Quentin Lake, right? He's absolutely going to be the guy that challenges second contract for the safety. And right now, I wish they'd spend the money because I really, really like Quentin Lake quite a bit. Let's see. Let's see. You asked about how do you use a third wide receiver when you're running more 12 personnel? I think the thing is that we're in that 12 personnel where we're almost exclusively running because they're not targeting the tight ends at all. That's the only thing I could think of. And again, sometimes I know I don't want to sound like I'm that guy bagging on. I'm not even going to mention it, but sometimes you got to get beneath the surface, and not everybody is like you guys and goes beneath the surface. Let's see here. Tim Burns, I am concerned about Jonathan Taylor this week. Dude is running well at the wrong time for LA. So you're saying that Saquon Barkley's taking a back seat? I mean, I'm not being snarky there. Would you say Jonathan Taylor's better than Saquon Barkley? I think there's an argument. Could Barkley be a little worn out from last year? I think there's always an argument there. I think the Rams have the capacity to contain Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor doesn't scare me. I'm a little concerned, but their offensive line, I think, is better than the Eagles' offensive line. So I'll put that there. Thomas Wilson, if Steve Avila played, the Rams win. I understand what you're saying there, Tom. Again, I think if Stafford completes one of those, half dozen overthrows, we win, right? I mean, with everything that went on, if he makes a couple of completions, we win this game. And I'm not saying it's all on Stafford at all, but that's where this game was. I mean, just a couple of plays here, right? And a couple of completions, and it would have been different. Manu Vasquez, the three teams the Rams have played were all top 5 in defense last year. So I think the offensive line and the O-line and offense in general will be better going forward. I think we're seeing some of that, right? We moved the ball on the Eagles. Everyone loves the Eagles, right? And we moved the ball on the Eagles. Everyone loved the Texans. You beat the Texans. It wasn't big, but you beat the Texans, which essentially kind of works out to a glorified preseason game in week 1 for the Rams. Everyone's getting their footing. And then things came together in the second half against the Titans, who weren't very good. But remember, the Rams kind of were in a haze there in the first half. Second half, they took care of business. They came out, took care of business against the Eagles, except in the red zone, right? Except in the red zone. And again, couple of Stafford completions that he always makes. It's a different story. USA expat. With gimpy ankled guards, it is harder to have more screen game too. Oh, that's a good point there. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about that at all. That's a good point there, USA expat. ESG. Colts have beaten the Dolphins, Broncos, and Titans. Not exactly good defenses. Yeah, there you go. Next point. ESG, are you looking at my notes? There's my notes right there. Colts game is a test this week for the Colts, right? They blew out both the Dolphins and Titans, who suck. Everyone say Dolphins and Titans suck. And they really got lucky against a struggling Broncos team. And I've said this. We've talked about it before. Indy's good. They've always been a quarterback away. But the Rams should win by 2 scores. They really should. I mean, I'm not predicting blowout, but 2 scores could be 9 points. But if they don't win, if the Rams lose, they should not lose at home to Indy. And in the way you budget out wins and losses, the Eagle game could be budgeted out as a loss because we on the road. All right, you can see that they're the defending champs. Could have stolen it, but it happened. All right, so it's still in the budget for you to lose to them. You know, you could put the Baltimore Ravens in play right now, right? I think we all acquiesced. We all said, okay, we're not going to argue about winning the game in Baltimore. But Baltimore was horrible. Baltimore was horrible the other night. And I'll even make the argument. I said it on FanView. I hope you guys caught FanView, which I uploaded here. Didn't do it live up here on YouTube, but I uploaded it. And did you guys get where I argued that 7 sacks against Lamar Jackson is pretty incredible? Something up with Ronnie Stanley, the way Aiden Hutchinson blew by him. But when was the last time you kept seeing Lamar Jackson get caught by the ankles, right? I think 7 of those sacks you could have put, half of them on his offensive line, but is it possible that Lamar Jackson's lost a step? Anyway, I digress. But looking at that Colts offensive line, it's really solid in the interior, very good in the interior, really solid on the wings. You got Pittman out there. You got Tyler Warren, who's off to a great start. Jonathan Taylor. So this offense isn't bad. Defensively, you got some guy. You got Latu there from UCLA. You got guys. And I think it's a really solid team. And right now, given the way the Titans are playing, given the way the Texans are playing, and we're going to find out about Jacksonville. Jacksonville is kind of horsing around. They're 2-1, but you're not really sure what Jacksonville is. And they're going to 49er country. They're going to Fog City this week. And that AFC South might not be up for grabs or all Texans, as everyone said. If Danny Dimes, if Indiana Jones at quarterback there can stay where he's been, avoid the Manning jinx, as Steve says, the Colts are a playoff team, and they're going to win the South. So I'm not saying this Colts team is a bad team, but I'm saying the Rams are better than them, and the Rams should really be motivated to take it to them. And I want all their frustrations taken out on the Colts, and I think they can do that. I think in the past the Rams have done that. When the Rams need to focus, they focus. And somewhere in the second half, they lost focus, both sides of the ball, and then, of course, those special team issues. And I expect Stafford to be better going forward. So, I like the Rams this week against the Colts. But a loss could be something serious there. Let's see here. Robert, Steeler fan Rob, I'm taking the Rams over the Colts this weekend. No way the Rams lose this game like they did the last game, is there? Hey, you got enough problems with your boy Aaron flying across the pond. Can someone his age fly across the pond and be ready to play so quick? You got your own problems, Steeler fan Rob. Manny Vasquez, the Colts offensive line has given up 2 sacks so far. Yeah, I think that's a combination of them being pretty good and Danny Jones being able to move. And that's a nice test for the Rams, right? That's going to be a really good test for the Rams. Steve Ramirez, the Athletic said today was Adams' normal vet rest day, but dealing with a hammy, but no concern per McVay. I guess they have an excuse to, he's sitting out to dress that hammy. I'm feeling good about it. I'm not too worried about it. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. USA Expat, beat the Colts by 2 scores and stomp the Niners, and all will be well in the RamCave. Hey, you guys would have been so proud of me. You guys would have said, I didn't break anything. I didn't lose it. I had people checking on me on Twitter and friends. They said, Joe, how you doing? And the truth was, I was pretty chilled because that first half, when you don't score touchdowns, when you're not hitting pay dirt, you're kicking field goals, you knew it was going to come back to haunt you. I will admit, I started to perk up when they scored early in the second half, and it was 26-7. And I said, okay, but the Eagles put the kibosh on that with their very next drive. What was it? 3 passes, 3 plays, and a touchdown. Yeah. All right. I'm Joe Terosian, a sports writer for 21 years. Still offer content to Mid-Valley Sports. Tim Burns writes NFL notes and numbers for us there at Mid-Valley Sports. You can go on to check that out. And I do RamView. Thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. And we so appreciate them and the opportunity to do this. My friends at Mid-Valley Sports, they cover the Colts. So they're happy by what's going on this season right now. They're pretty jazzed about riding with the Bolts these days. But I get to do RamView thanks again to Kistler Law and you guys and the supporting of purchasing my books. My books are on Amazon. You can check them out there. And be sure, Rams-Packers, NFC Championship game. That could happen. And it already has happened in game day in the RamCave. So be sure to check it out there. It helps me stay on the air. It helps me in my day job. My day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And you can follow us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual all across social media. We are a little behind on posting on iHeart and Spotify. We're having some connection issues regards to YouTube and the downloads and everything. So we might be a little behind. Hopefully we get that straightened out, but be sure to check us out there. Okay, let's get to around the NFL and other places and then take a peek at week number 5. Let's see. Thomas Wilson. Lamar has piled up 8 NFL season, a lot of mileage for a running quarterback. Yeah, we would bring this up. I'd bring this up and people would say, oh, I'm not the only one. But a bill comes due. And sooner or later, you have to become better in the pocket. I think Lamar Jackson has coaxed the most he could possibly coax out of his right arm and his football capacity. There's guys that just have higher IQs, right? Some guys are not book smart, but they're in the huddle smart, right? Or they're on the field smart. There's just different things. He wasn't raised that way. Right? He was not raised that way. He was the guy they give the ball to and say, hey, make miracles happen. He has worked really hard. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan, but you see he has limitations in the passing game. He doesn't process as fast as everybody else. He's not as accurate as everybody else. And now maybe, just maybe, as you said there, Tom, the legs, he slowed down a tick. So maybe he's just merely superhuman instead of out of this world human, right? But he's mortal, and you're not seeing those home runs like we used to see. And I thank you for sharing that. USA Expat, Colts may have given up 2 sacks, but I believe the Rams will have more than 2 sacks on Sunday. They're averaging 4 a game, right? They're averaging 4 a game. Let's see here. ESG, tush push injury for Lane Johnson. Is that where it happened? I did not know that's where it happened. 2 things you guys haven't gotten back to me about. One is my opinion on how to end the tush push by just smashing these guys, giving them their yardage, but making them pay for it every time they line up. No one's gotten back to me on that, and no one's given me a way to get out of going to dinner with my wife and friends on Sunday afternoon, which homeboy doesn't want to do that. But I did not know about that. I knew Lane Johnson was injured, but I did not know that was the result of the tush push. Really something to think about. Manny Vasquez agrees 100% with USA Expat about the Rams getting more than 2 sacks. ESG, they're just calling it an injury, but I don't think they would have made it was because of the tush push. Okay. All right. I hear what you're saying. But also, if you're going to make all that noise about, hey, they did jump and they do jump, you watch their right guard, Steen, I think it was, you see him jumping and you've got the view from above. Employ the view from above. I don't want to see the play gotten rid of. I want to see a response to it. I don't like banning plays because you never know. The Rams might come up with one. You never know, right? All right, around the NFL and other places, everyone else, thanks for joining in. Be sure to hit like, be sure to hit subscribe, be sure to leave comments, be sure to hit share. Helps us stay in the algorithm. But Eagles put Nolan Smith, tricep issue that he had surgery on in the offseason. He's on the IR. He won't be back till mid-season. Packers released McCole Hardman, former Super Bowl guy for the Chiefs. Texans released C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That one surprised me. They signed former Ram practice squad player Quintez Cephas. The Texans are still waiting to make a decision on Jaden Daniels for this Sunday. It's still up in the air. And then there was this conversation before we move on to other things. Well, let me get this real quick out of the way here. The 49ers breathed a sigh of relief because they said there was an issue with Ricky Pearsall's knee. And it turns out it's nothing serious, but Ricky Pearsall's in his second year, and they're talking about a sore knee and that he needs time off. And they're all excited about getting DeMarcus Robinson back. And they're excited about Sky Moore. And they're excited about Juwan Jennings, who's been banged up. And Juwan Jennings is good. But think of the things they're excited about in Frisco, right? That is not a good sign. Go Jacksonville. And then the Cardinals, this one's going to be really interesting too. Will Johnson did not practice again. He was going to be the steal of the draft. I wouldn't have been mad if the Rams took him, but the Michigan guy has a groin injury. And then there's all this buzz about Marvin Harrison. And then the buzz that no one's talking about is, when does Kyler Murray step up and become a difference maker? And now they're facing the Seahawks on Thursday, who they've lost 7 times in a row to. Seahawks have a new quarterback named Sam Darnold. And these Seahawks Cardinal games are always kind of ugly, right? But isn't this an opportunity? No one talks about Kyler Murray being elite anymore, right? And I know everyone says I'm spreading Kyler Murray hate. My issue with Kyler Murray was body language, pointing, that kind of stuff. My issue is I don't like anyone being anointed before they've done something. And, he makes splash plays, which I haven't seen very many splash plays this year, but he's never consistent. And I like a quarterback who's pretty consistent. Splash plays make the highlights, but they don't necessarily get you to the Super Bowl. Look at Jim Zorn. Jim Zorn had some great splash plays, right? Michael Vick had great splash plays. None of those guys got to the Super Bowl. Anyway, let's see what you guys got here before I go to the next topic. Manny Vasquez. Apparently the Rams are one of the teams that were trying to simulate the Eagles' cadence count on the tush push, according to Kobe Turner. So teams are trying to fight it. Yeah, I think anything than anything. I don't want to see a play banned. I just don't like it. It's so federal. What I mean by federal, right? It's like, or Sacramento out here in California. It's like, there's always a reason, like, oh, we got to make it fair. No. Within the bounds of the league, the tush push is fair. But if they're jumping, if they're doing different things, then you got to look at it. Also on the flip side, measure out their counts. Also on the flip side, blow them up, right? I mean, I go back to a game I played, I think it was my sophomore year in high school. And I was at the other end of the floor. The other team got a fast break, and they blew the layup, right? It's JV ball, sophomore ball. They blew the layup, and they must have had about 3 attempts where they're just trying to tap it in and bat it in. And I remember I came from mid-court playing Rosemead High School, and against Rosemead, and I went from mid-court, and I remember, I don't know why I did it, definitely a dirty play, but I threw my body into 3 guys and took them all down like a bowling ball. My coach spoke to me and he says, I'm glad somebody else was sick of looking at that as much as I was, that you're just giving a team a free run and you're not making them pay for it, right? And that's my thing about the tush push. Blow it up. They go for it on 4th and a half yard at the 50. They're getting it, guys. Right now they're getting it, so make them pay. Give it to them in a 5-yard chunk on a play, on a going off sides, but light them up, right? Light them up. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I've whined enough about that subject, but yeah. Okay. Question came up and I saw this. It's been making the buzz since the Giants game. Russell Wilson looked terrible at the end of that game. That last pass he threw out of the end zone, it was almost like he didn't even try. And the conversation worked up about, has Russell Wilson played himself out of the Hall of Fame? And I think it's an interesting conversation. Is Russell Wilson a Hall of Famer? Because if you go back to 2021, everything between his rookie year going forward, you're looking at, oh, this guy's a Hall of Famer, right? Right? Wouldn't you have thought? I mean, this guy's a Hall of Famer. And then after, of course, the bad endings in Denver, Pittsburgh, and now with the G-Men, now everyone's kind of convinced themselves he's not. But I think it's dependent on Eli Manning getting in. Manning won 2 Super Bowls, both against Brady, both against the Patriots. If 2 Super Bowls get you in, remember, Dan Fouts, Warren Moon, no Super Bowls there, but they got in. Jim Kelly got in. He lost 4, but we're not going to take anything away from that. But if 2 Super Bowls get you in, then sidebar, I want Jim Plunkett in because I think he's got a great story. But if two Super Bowls get you in, if that's the criteria, if you hold Wilson out, and if you hold Wilson out because he doesn't have 2, then you're basically keeping Russell Wilson out of the Hall of Fame because he threw 1 bad pass. Because the Seahawks had that second Super Bowl sewn up. Bad call. He gives the ball to Marshawn Lynch. He completes it. Malcolm Butler upsets Bill Belichick before that game instead of the Super Bowl against the Eagles and never plays. Then Russell Wilson has won 2 Super Bowls back-to-back. NFC title game was rookie year, and then 2 Super Bowls back-to-back. Man, isn't he a Hall of Famer, right? I think the issue with Russ kind of is I think he comes across as plastic, and he came across as plastic in the locker room, and people didn't like him. And I'll throw this out too. I heard this argument. People said it was because of the Legion of Boom. Garbage. Legion of Boom was really good. Legion of Boom was short-lived. Legion of Boom would not have gone to a Super Bowl without Russell Wilson. And I'm not a huge Russell Wilson fan, but they wouldn't have gone to the Super Bowl without Russell Wilson. So knock it off. I think it's because a lot of people don't like Russell Wilson. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that. Let's see. Yes, at Rams' new secret play taken from the movie MASH. I just didn't like seeing Elliot Gould playing quarterback in that movie. It made me mad. I don't know why. Steve Ramirez. Well, the reason you can't have 2 guys in motion at the same time is because the NCAA outlawed it due to Rockne's motion box formation, which is unstoppable. NFL followed suit. Okay, but that's been in play for how many decades now, right? How many decades? It's been a long time. Tim Burns. Wilson just keeps collecting bonuses and moving on, 28 teams to go. But every place ran him out. Even Steeler fan Rob didn't want him in Pittsburgh. Denver ran him out. Denver ate that massive contract to get him out of Dodge. Basically, Pete Carroll said, God, I'll dance with Geno Smith. Get me out of here, right? And so something there. I'll bring this up too. If 2 Super Bowls aren't enough to get you in, and Russ would be held out because he didn't get 2 Super Bowls, but he didn't get it because of 1 bad pass. Can I just ask this? And I know this is going to upset people and everything. And I know you got to be an old timer to have seen him play. I saw him play. Okay. But if 2 is not enough, give me Bob Greasy's signature moment apart from the no-name defense. Right? This guy's throwing 7 passes a game, right? I think in Super Bowl 8, Greasy was 6 of 7. It was all Kazanka, right? Larry Zonka, I know, I call him Kazanka. But what was the signature game for Bob Greasy, right? Remember, Earl Morrall navigated them for the most part through that undefeated season in 72. I know maybe you don't remember. I'm old. I'm showing myself. But I'd be curious to know, like, what did they do after the no-name defense went away, right? What did they do after Arnsberger left town? What did they do after Bonacotti got old? Manny Fernandez's knees went out, right? What did they do when they moved off of Jake Scott, Dick Anderson, right? What did they do? I'm just throwing it out there because I don't know. I just think it's that everyone's out right now on Russell Wilson not being a Hall of Famer. And, the dirt in his grave football career isn't even cold yet. But I get it if they're not going to. But what if Eli gets in? Then you're holding Russ out because he threw one bad pass. What about a guy that overcame the hell of New England and the hell of Frisco in the 70s and then came back with the Raiders and then had to have fluke things happen to get on the field and win 2 Super Bowls like Jim Plunkett, right? You certainly don't have Joe Namath in there because of his numbers, right? You certainly don't have Joe Namath in there because of his numbers. And after the 69 season, they didn't make the playoffs again, right? Just curious to talk about that. Tim Bird, Steeler fan Rob changes quarterback jerseys every other hour. Yeah, I heard he was a Mike Kruzek fan too. Steve Ramirez, Wilson is now like Catlin from number 1. Oh man, is he that bad? I hope it doesn't end like that for him. Greaves' best game. Greasy's best game was the Sea of Hands game, which he lost. Okay, so I'm not completely off base there, Steve. I know you saw that was a great game. And it's so funny is that you could see a lot of David Volsky right here on YouTube. Type in the name David Volsky, and he remasters these old NFL games so they look like they're modern day. And during the offseason, they're just beautiful things to watch. But they don't have the Raiders-Dolphin game somewhere. It got lost, and it's gone. The Raiders-Dolphins, you can see the highlights of it, but the Raiders-Dolphins in 74 still ranks as one of the greatest games ever. Kurt Gowdy, Don Meredith in the booth, that whole he caught it. Yeah, that gives me chills. Yeah. Tim Burns, Jackson Dart going to be fun to watch. Yeah, I think so too. I hope he throws 5 touchdown passes and Steeler fan Rob grinds his teeth at night for a decade. Let's see. Manuel Vasquez, multiple Seahawks players said Carroll protected him. He asked for and got his own office in Denver, so maybe some of his teammates look at him like he wants to be pampered and they don't like it. All that's true. I've heard that in multiple places. Multiple sources have said that. You're absolutely right, Manuel. And I don't think people liked him. I think there was just something that came across as plastic about him. I don't know the dude. I don't know anything about, what he's like, but something came across as plastic and refined and manufactured and just a little too pretty, a little too cute. And I don't think his teammates liked him. I don't. All right, let's keep rolling here, guys. Let's get to this week. Thursday, September 25th, Seahawks at Cardinals. Seattle's won 7 straight against the Cardinals. It's going to be embarrassing if Darnold goes in there and somehow lights it up with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison can't get on the same page. There's concerns there. It's all over the place about Marvin Harrison. I don't know what you do. Do you force feed him the ball, even if it means getting a loss? Do you bench him for a week? Something needs to shake that kid up. You always look different when you're not going against Trey White. Right? You always look different when you're not going against Trey White. I'm taking the Seahawks in that game. I'm taking the Seahawks. I think it could be really physical. I'm taking the Seahawks 20-10. There we go. I said it. Seahawks 20-10. These aren't final predictions for Sunday, the 28th. Vikings at Steelers. I'm going to take Carson Wentz over Aaron Rodgers in Dublin. Taskins at the Falcons. Man, there's a lot of nervousness there in Atlanta. And if the Texans could go and burn Atlanta like Sherman did, man, that means the Falcons dropped to 1-3, and that should be music to Ram fans' ears. And there's not like they just hit a rough patch. There's internal things going on. They fired Ike Hilliard. They've got stuff happening there in that front office and in that locker room. So keep an eye on the Falcons' collapse. Sorry, it has to happen to Raheem Morris. Saints 0-3, Bills 3-0. Note to Sean McDermott. You get a lead, get Allen out of there. Don't risk padding Allen's numbers. Don't risk anything. Get him out of the freaking game. You're going to win anyway. This is Rydell High, playing the Buffalo Bills. The Saints are not an NFL football team right now. Browns at Lions. I wonder if the Lions whoop the Browns, if they'll get the respect that they deserve. I noticed a little backpedaling today on Detroit was great. And then there was a little bit of a backpedaling there saying, no, they're not that great. So I always like the Lions. I'm going to tell you, I always like the Lions. Titans 0-3, Texans 0-3. Bigger game for Houston. No one expects the Titans to be good. Texans were expected to be AFC South champs. Again, we talked about it. I don't know. The decision-making along their offensive line was just brain dead. Just brain dead. And now they're questioning C.J. Stroud. You know, if they're questioning C.J. Stroud and they want to dump C.J. Stroud, the Rams will give them a number 1 pick for C.J. Stroud. Wouldn't you bring in C.J. Stroud? I'd bring in C.J. Stroud if they want to get rid of him. Panthers at Patriots. I think Mike Vrabel against a rookie quarterback, boom, they're going to win that game. Giants and Chargers. The Bolts from Brazil go to New York. We're going to find out, right? Don't you expect the Chargers to have a brain freeze? It seems like they have their brain freezes in every game and then find a way to make it work. I'm not going to be upset if Jackson Dart has a great game. I'm not a Bolts fan, you know, and I'm a Jim Harbaugh fan. And I'm kind of caught. I want Jim Harbaugh to succeed, but I don't want the Chargers to succeed because I want them to go back to San Diego. Eagles at Buccaneers. Right now they're out of Mike Evans, the Buccaneers, but they're getting Tristan Wirfs and Godwin back. They got Igabluka. They got Bucky Irving. I like the Buccaneers. They win. They haven't beaten a great team yet. They fooled around, but I think maybe the Eagles might be cruising for a bruising there in Tampa. Colts, Rams. I'm taking the Rams in this one. I haven't predicted a final score yet. Jaguars at 49ers. Even if Fog City goes to 4-0, they're still not impressive, but they'll be banking some wins. The injury bug there is just insane. Jaguars could really put a dagger into them if they and I know they'll be 3-1, but everyone knows what the 49ers are. Ravens at Chiefs. Feels like it'll be a sloppy game. I'm kind of rooting for the Chiefs because everyone's saying they're dead. Bears at the Raiders. What do you do here? I know I've been overly emotional, little fanboy there because I've been rooting for the Raiders a lot. I don't want to take Vegas, but I don't think the Bears can replicate what they did last week this week, right? I think the Raiders are better than the Cowboys. I'm going to go with Vegas in this game. Sunday night, Packers, Cowboys. Okay, how much, how high will the score be? And then Monday night, right? They've only staggered these games by an hour. 4:00 start for the Jets, Dolphins, 5:00 start for the Bengals at Broncos. Proof that you don't have to be smart to work in the NFL front office. Jets are 0-3, Dolphins are 0-3. Jets can go 0-4, and everyone will say, hey, we're making progress, we're chipping away. Dolphins go 0-4, and Mike McDaniel will be color commentating high school football games in Florida. He'll get fired. I think if they lose to the Jets in a bad way, he will get fired. Bengals at Broncos. Denver needs this win. Bengals do too, but with Joe Burrow out, anything they do is going to be gravy. They looked awful last week against Minnesota. Broncos need this win to get their season back on track, and I would lean Sean Payton in this one. So that's where I'm leaning right now. All right, what else we got here? ESG, Russell Wilson is also married to a pop star. Maybe that's also why people don't like him. Yeah, I forgot her name. Manuel Vasquez. Harrison's not the problem. It's Murray. He'll always be the Cardinals' Achilles heel. I say it's a little bit of both. I definitely don't think they could take the next step with Murray, but Harrison's not right? Harrison's just not right. Manuel Vasquez, the Atlanta loss made Sunday's game a bit easier to accept, but not much. What if the Falcons go into a total free fall? What if the Falcons finish 1-16? Would they accuse of conspiracy if the Rams got the first pick in the draft? I know, just dreaming there. Let's see here. Steve Ramirez. One of my favorite players growing up was Lions Lim Barney. Lim Barney, yeah, right? The first of the 20s, right? Everyone overlooks this. Lim Barney wore number 20, Hall of Fame. Billy Sims wore number 20, should have tracked to the Hall of Fame. Barry Sanders wore number 20, Hall of Fame, right? Absolutely. Lim Barney, right? He's in Paper Lion. You know, Lim Barney, I read something about that he really became a great businessman and mentor there in the Detroit area. And do you remember there was a cornerback that played for the Lions? He had a really nice start to his career, Levi Johnson. And in fact, I think the Lions used a draft pick they got from the Rams to take Levi Johnson. I'll have to look that up. But Levi Johnson, I think, tore up his knee at the end of 76. He missed 77, came back in 78, and then blew his Achilles or something. And I think he was interviewed saying that the guy that looked out for him was Lem Barney, got him involved. And I think it was selling cars and different things for a corporation and stuff. So Lem Barney, I think, class act dude. Darius Hines. Darius, thank you for joining us. Brother Joe, I do not like the Lions at all. The city is dirty. The team is dirty. The coach has no class and always tries to run up the score. And the fans have no respect for Stafford and his family. USA expat agrees. I know. I get it. I just don't hate him. I don't. Now, I want the Rams to beat them, but I don't hate him. And I have no problem running up the score. If we don't like someone running up the score on us, do something about it, right? That's always been my motto, or a creed or whatever I thought. I understand that Kirby Jackson play or Kirby Joseph play was a bit suspect. I get it. I understand it. And I know, why would you treat Stafford that way? But they're consistent. They trashed Ben Johnson when he came to town. I like Brad Holmes because Brad Holmes did great work for the Rams, and now he's a GM, and it's showing that he knows what he's doing. And so, yeah, and I like Dan Campbell because everybody in the media hated him. They tried to make him out to be a mush brain, and he's done something there that Rick Forzano, Tommy Hudspeth, I mean, let Wayne Fonts, Steve Mariucci, Rod Marinelli, all these guys, they couldn't do. They could not do. Monty Clark, I mean, I go through the list of these guys. You can too. He changed the culture. And so I think it's fun to see, and so, yeah, I understand. I'm probably costed myself clicks for that take. All right, let's see here. Thank you. It's okay to agree with me. It was a stone groove, my man. Thank you, Darius. I hadn't heard from you for a while. Okay, this date, 1976, Rams signed free agent wide receiver Thomas Garradine. I guess they needed a third receiver. Actually, remember Freeman Johns went out for the year. So it was Garradine, Dwight Scales, Ron Jesse, Harold Jackson. Sorry, it used to be when you just kept four receivers. On this date in 2019, Raiders signed linebacker Dakota Allen off the Rams practice squad. If you want to see Dakota Allen, he got some fame because he was in that Last Chance U, I think the first one about that JC there in Mississippi. Really interesting. My daughter actually watched that with me. Also born on this day in 1942, former Ram defensive back Clancy Williams, the first-round pick, played 9 seasons with the Rams, but played 7 seasons actually because his last 2 was he was injury-filled. Went to Washington State, played locally in high school here, had a really nice career for the Rams, died of cancer, unfortunately, in the 80s, but it's always good to remember somebody like Clancy Williams. And then Hall of Famer Tommy McDonald, who had a brief run with the Rams, one of those guys that finished his career not wearing a mask in the 60s. He passed away on this day 7 years ago at the age of 84. And since we're not on the air tomorrow, I'll mention Jim Benton. Jim Benton was born in 1916. He was a wide receiver in the NFL from 38 to 47, second-round pick out of Arkansas by the Rams. 6'3", 200 pounds, caught 228 passes in his career, 45 touchdowns. He also caught the go-ahead score, I guess you could say, as the game-winning score on a 37-yard touchdown pass from Bob Waterfield to beat the Redskins in 45, and the Rams won that title game. And it's interesting, though, when you think about it, is he scored the go-ahead touchdown that put the Rams up for good in the 45 title game. Tom Fears scored the go-ahead touchdown in the 1951 title game that gave the Rams a title. Isaac Bruce scored late in the Super Bowl 34 to give the Rams a title. And Cooper Kupp, Super Bowl 56, scored the winning touchdown in the fourth quarter. All those were fourth quarter late in the game scores, except for Benton's. But the Rams always seem to have a guy, right? Always seem to have a guy. Also, quick mention, Benton passed away in 2001 at the age of 84. Also wanted to get one other thing listed in here. Alec Ogletree turns 34 tomorrow. Brandon Cooks turns 32. There we go. And looking at this day in Rams history, Rams beat the Eagles on September 25th. That's tomorrow. Rams beat the Eagles 20-0. Joe Namath's last touchdown passes in the NFL went to Terry Nelson and Lawrence McCutcheon, and I think he even scrambled for a score. And then tomorrow is the 42nd anniversary of the Jets' 27-24 victory in overtime over the Rams. Eric Dickerson had a great touchdown run in that game, but that game will be forever remembered as the Mark Gastineau-Slater fight. Now, it seems so tame what Gastineau used to do with his sack dance, but it really ticked people off there back in the early 80s. And Jackie Slater, right? I don't want to say the pious one because that sounds like I'm talking down. The very, well thought out Christian man. When after Gastineau got the sack, Slater went after him and it broke out a huge brawl. It was great to watch. You can check that out. That is on YouTube. You can see that one. Let's see here. I think boom, 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 boom. There we go. Also, tomorrow, September 25th, 2022, Rams won in Arizona 20-12, and Aaron Donald collected the 100th sack of his NFL career. So good. We got all that stuff in there. Excellent. Let's see here. All right. Manny Vasquez. I expect the Rams to be 6-1 or 5-2 at the bye. If they can do that, that means they put the Eagles' loss behind them, like we're all hoping they do. I think the Rams will. I think the Rams will put it behind them, and they'll be just fine. I really do. ESG, the only thing I worry about facing Detroit is injuries. Well, we don't face some. Oh, we do. We got them at home. That's going to be interesting. Yeah. My thing, I think, about the Rams and the Lions is I don't want to relitigate what's happened in the past because we can't change what's happened in the past. But maybe we want to hurt them going forward, right? Darius Hines, Brother Joe, what is a realistic solution to our cornerback room until Akilo makes it back? AJ Green looked good against the Chargers starters in the preseason. Trey Brown had a high PFF man-to-man grade, when he was with the Seahawks. Yeah. Tim Burns, congrats. FanView was dope. Thank you. I don't even think with Akilo Witherspoon, when you look at his frame and his build, I don't even think he's a good matchup against A.J. Brown. I remember watching that Eagle game, the regular season game last year, and we're watching it, and you're seeing Darius Williams trying to, it's like, what would you say? It's like Spud Webb trying to guard Charles Barkley back in the day down the blocks, right? Or trying to guard, Anthony Mason or Charles Oakley or somebody down in the blocks. It's not going to work. You can get position, you can do whatever. It's just not going to work. The thing is I would go surfing, depending on what the Rams want to do. I would go surfing to see who's a good corner on a really bad team, right? And I have to give credit. Because I think it was on Monday's episode, J-Mac on Colin Cowherd's show mentioned L'Jarius Sneed with the Titans. Now, you got to eat some contract there, but a guy like that could be with A.J. Brown, right? I think you want to look at some of these teams that have physical corners and see who's losing, who wants a shot, right? Who wants a shot? And so I would expect that kind of move for the Rams. I don't think there's anything in-house. Even if when Witherspoon comes back, I don't think he's a solution to A.J. Brown. My thing not to panic over is against everybody else in the NFL, I think the Rams cornerback room is just fine. I'm not saying it's Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes, but it's a good cornerback room. They just can't match up against A.J. Brown, which again goes back to what took the Eagles so long to figure it out. And one of the points was it ESG? Who did it? Someone made a point. Was it Bill in Philly? Made a point that there was a rumor going around in Philly media that Jalen Hurts was doing the play calls in the second half. And of course, Sirianni came back and shot that down. And I think that's even worse, right? Because if your starting quarterback who's won a Super Bowl, who's a great leader, says, no, blanket, we're not running that play, then all right, man, that guy's a Super Bowl champion. We're going to cut him some slack. But I want to know why you're not going to A.J. Brown from the get-go, right? Why is it when everything is on the line? Why is it when it's down the stretch? Why are you not throwing to A.J. Brown? Did he suddenly start getting open, or did you just suddenly start looking at him? And I think there's a fundamental glitch there in the whole Eagles system. So something, again, to consider. But Darius, thank you for the question. I don't think it's on the answer is on the roster. The Rams went out and got Trey Brown because I don't think they really believe right now in Cam Langford or AJ Green, not totally. But I don't think I saw someone making an argument that Darian Kendrick would have been the guy. I like Darian Kendrick too. Do you really think Darian Kendrick? I saw him get abused by DK Metcalf, right? So no, right now I don't think the answer is in-house. But I will say this: you got to find an answer at corner, and you got to find an answer at center. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't believe that Coleman Shelton just can't move the pile when you need that yard, right? He just can't do it. He knows, he calls out the signals. He recognizes the techniques in front of him. He's really good that way. I'm not taking that away from him, but he's limited. And the Rams knew he was limited when they brought him in. They weren't confident enough in Limmer, even though Limmer was, for the whole season, was the guy. And I'm not saying Limmer's the guy, but I'm saying, boy, the Rams need to look at that. And I don't know. You know, you guys brought it up on Monday. I don't think you can make a deal for a center midseason that's going to – can you? Have you ever heard of a center being traded midseason? Someone gets their hands on a center, it's like, no, I'm going to hold on to this sucker. I never saw Jim Langer traded midseason, Rick Saul, Ken Iman, Doug Smith, Dwight Stevenson. I'm trying to think of a center that was ever traded midseason. Jack Rudnay, right? Who got traded midseason? Nick Tinkelhoff, Lynn Haas. Who got traded midseason? And I can't think of a center that's ever been traded midseason. Mike Webster, Ray Mansfield, I don't know. Anyway, all right, guys, we've hit the 56-minute mark, trying to keep this under an hour. Steve Ramirez, center is like a quarterback. Yeah, and they don't even acknowledge it. I mean, only in the last few years, I think because everyone's football IQ has gone onto another level. All of us. We thought we knew football 20 years ago. Just with everything that's provided, we recognize more and more. And then as you get older, you just learn more. I don't think we've ever really learned in how valuable a center is. And I know we could have had Creed Humphrey, the greatest Ram who never played. Guys, we're coming up to the 60-minute mark. I got to let you go. But thanks for hanging out. Going to post a fan view tomorrow, talk about general sports. God bless, take care, and we will see you soon. Champion.